In today's video, we're going to be comparing the Samsung Galaxy S25 to Google's Pixel 9 Pro. And the first thing I want to address here is why I'm comparing the base S25, which is the smallest and cheapest phone in Samsung's latest flagship lineup, coming around $800 US, with the Pixel 9 Pro and not the base Pixel 9. As you'll see in this video, I believe the Pixel 9 Pro has more in common with the S25 in terms of feature parity. That said, throughout the video, I'll make mention of areas where the Pixel 9 and Pixel 9 Pro differ, so this video should still be a great resource for either one. So with that, let's start by comparing the design. Both phones feature a mostly flat matte glass back. The side rails on the S25 are also matte, which I personally like, while the Pixel 9 Pro has glossy rails. For those of you looking at the non-Pro Pixel, the finishes are reversed, meaning it's a glossy back glass and the matte side rails. Notably, both phones feature the same physical controls with just a power button and a volume rocker, although the order of these two buttons is swapped between them. The most obvious physical difference, though, is the design of the camera bumps. While the S25 here sports a more traditional design with their off-center camera lenses that individually protrude from the back of the phone, the Pixel has gone with a very large pill-shaped camera bump with all the cameras enclosed within it. There's also a temperature sensor in there, so... This is a departure from the full edge-to-edge visor design that Pixels have been known for since the release of the Pixel 6, but it's still unmistakably a Pixel phone. This camera bump protrudes out a good bit more than the lens on the S25, which means your phone will sit slightly raised on the top side if you go without a case, or even a slim case. That said, because it runs most of the width of the phone, it doesn't wobble when you use it on a table. While design is definitely subjective, I'm going to give this win to the Pixel. Next is displays, and both phones feature LTPO panels that can range from a super smooth 120Hz all the way down to 1Hz. This greatly helps with battery life when it comes to things like powering the always-on displays. I will note here that the Pixel 9 non-Pro's display can only go down to 60Hz, but both displays here are really good, featuring punchy colors and a ton of brightness, with the S25 maxing out at 2600 peak nits and Pixel 9 Pro a blistering 3000 peak nits. I think the Pixel 9 non-Pro is 2700. I've had no issues with either of these phones in direct sunlight. The overall dimensions here are pretty similar as well, however the Pixels feature a slightly larger 6.3-inch display over the S25 6.1-inch. This makes the Pixel a little bit taller, wider, and thicker, which for me makes it a bit more challenging to reach the top of the phone with my thumb when using the phone in one hand. The Pixel 9 Pro here also weighs in at just over 7 ounces in comparison to the 5.7 ounces of the S25. One other advantage for Samsung is the new addition of the adaptive color tone feature. This feature automatically shifts the white balance of the display to match the lighting of your environment. And in my opinion, this is a fantastic feature. While it's hard to show on camera, it makes the phone's display seem more paper-like in real life, which makes it just that little bit easier on the eyes. The S25 also launched with the ability to show your wallpaper on the always-on display while the phone is still locked. This is something the iPhone launched with iOS 16, but it's finally come to Android. So overall, in terms of display, the S25 wins for me. Security-wise, both phones feature the exact same options for unlocking the phone, which is actually a really big deal for the Pixel 9, as every previous iteration of the Pixel featured an optical fingerprint scanner versus the ultrasonic one that's found on most devices, including the S25. The optical scanners were just bad. And honestly, it was one of the deal breakers for me when I made my Pixel 7 versus S22 video a couple years ago. So it's nice to see that Google's finally gotten with the times, and I can report that the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner in the Pixel 9 Pro here really works equally well to the S25. I tested all the other lock options, including Face Unlock, with both, and the performance was similar. So in this category, it's actually a tie. Next, let's talk about performance. And depending on your use case, this isn't much of a contest. While the Pixel 9 series features Google's latest Tensor 4 chip, the S25 series relies on the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite. And this phone absolutely rips. I ran Geekbench 6 on both phones, which showed that single-core performance is improved by 30% on the S25 over the Pixel 9, and actually 100%, or literally double the multi-core performance. Now, admittedly, I don't do a lot of 3D gaming on my phone, but if you do, the S25 is clearly the winner here for you. In normal use, both phones are quick and snappy. I've seen no lagging issues with animations on the Pixel 9 or anything that would make me question the performance here, and the fact that the Pixel 9 Pro actually has 16 gigs of RAM here is helping it keep up. The base Pixel 9 and the S25 both max out at 12 gigs of RAM. That said, if you want to buy a phone and use it for the next 3 to 5 years in the future, getting the better performing phone now will absolutely lead to a better long-term experience with future OS updates and more power-hungry apps coming in the future. The S25 also gives you access to DeX, which is a proprietary Samsung protocol that allows you to use your phone as a desktop when hooked up to an external monitor. I don't know anybody that actually uses DeX, but let me know down in the comments if you're interested in seeing a full video of me using the S25 and DeX as my only computer for, let's say, a week. We'll talk more about software and AI coming up in a bit here, but one last note on performance is that when Google first launched their own silicon with the Tensor series, it was marketed to be built for AI, so it could do more of that processing on device versus the competition. But with the Snapdragon 8 Elite, Qualcomm and Samsung have really leveled the playing field here as well. So the performance category clearly goes to the S25. But what is all that performance worth if your battery can't keep up? That extra bulk of the Pixel 9 comes in handy here as it's able to fit in a 4700 mAh battery, which is significantly larger than the 4000 mAh battery on the S25. On an average day, I'm doing somewhere between 2.5 to 3 hours of screen on time, and with that usage, by around 9 or 10 p.m., the battery on my S25 is sitting somewhere in the 10 to 15% range. With that same usage on the Pixel 9 Pro, I'm still left with around 30 to 40%. This is a huge benefit as it leads to significantly less battery anxiety if I'm traveling or otherwise just out of the house for a long portion of the day. In terms of charging speed, the S25 maxes out at 25 watts when wired to a compatible charger, while the Pixel 9 and Pixel 9 Pro both get up to 27 watts. For wireless charging, the Pixel 9 and the S25 both max out at 15 watts, but the Pixel 9 Pro does a bit better with up to 21 watts wireless charging. Overall, battery life is another win for the Pixel 9. All right, let's talk cameras. And this is where things really start to get interesting. And it's even more subjective. So let's start with the actual specs, and then we'll show a bunch of comparison photos and videos so you can decide for yourself. Instead of listing all the specs individually, I've actually made this little comparison chart between the three phones, so you can feel free to pause this video here to look more closely. But the gist is that Pixel 9 Pro and the S25 have the same number of cameras, while the Pixel 9 loses out on that telephoto. And the pixels are generally higher megapixels all around. So let's jump into the comparisons and see what that all means in a real-world application. Please note the text at the bottom of the screen to tell which phone's images you're looking at. And while you're watching actual footage recorded with both of these phones, it's the perfect time for me to let you know about today's video sponsor, Flexispot. Here's the deal. I work from home, and in the evenings I moonlight here as a YouTube creator. So what that means is I spend an extraordinary amount of time right here at this desk, and back pain has become a real factor for me in recent years. This Flexispot OC4 chair has been a game changer for me for those long sessions. It offers great lumbar support that's firm but adjustable, and the addition of a headrest here is something that I didn't know I needed. It stays back and out of the way for most of the day, but in between meetings or when I'm watching a video, being able to lean back and relax my head here has really helped me feel more refreshed. It's got 3D adjustable armrests that can accommodate anyone's needs, and the soft mesh material throughout is very breathable, but also extremely strong, as this chair can support up to 500 pounds. It comes in a wide range of colors, making it a perfect match for any office. Check the link in the description to learn more, and thank you again for Flexispot for sponsoring this video. Now, let's sit back and watch the rest of these sample photos. So one very notable difference is actually the width of the selfie cameras in video mode. So the S25 actually crops in quite a bit when you get into video mode, which this is what we're doing now. So now I have video stabilization turned on both devices here, still using the forward-facing selfie camera to do this kind of walking vlog test. So on the one side you have the S25, and the other side you have the Pixel 9 Pro. Again, I can already see the Pixel 9 Pro is quite a bit wider even with stabilization on. And then another feature here that I think is worth checking out is Pixel's Video Boost. So far you've been watching this with the Pixel 9 Pro with the 1x lens, but with video boost turned off. All right, now you can see video boost turned on. So you can actually tell what the difference is between these two clips. And then we'll actually finish this out with the S25 to compare that as well. And then finishing out here with the S25 so you can see how that looks in comparison to both the Pixel 9 Pro unboosted, which would be the same as the Pixel 9, as well as then with the boosted signal as well. All right, so what did you think of the camera comparison? Let me know down in the comments which one performed best for you. In my opinion, when it comes to photography, the Pixel 9 looks more natural. Samsung's processing is just a little bit too heavy-handed when it comes to hyping up colors for that punchy HDR look, and it's also really adding a lot of brightness to the shadow areas, which makes things look a bit more flat overall. Also, that little bit of extra width on the ultra-wide as well as on the selfie camera on the Pixel 9 is a welcomed addition. Now, whether you prefer having a 3x or a 5x telephoto around the back is a bit more subjective. The 3x on the S25 for me is a little bit more usable in the day-to-day as it's a decent little focal length for portraits. The 5x on the Pixel 9 Pro ends up being a little too much for me, but if you really are trying to zoom in on something in the distance, that extra reach with the combination of the extra megapixels goes a long way in creating a better photo. Now, over on video, the difference isn't so drastic, and honestly, my preference is flipped here. The S25 for me does a better job of keeping the video look more natural and true to life. While I sometimes think Samsung does a bit too much over sharpening in their video processing, I do prefer it over the results I'm seeing out of the Pixel 9. I guess in general, it just feels like I'm losing detail with the Pixel 9 video because it also feels like there's some added contrast and compression that isn't there on the S25. The video boost is interesting though. Again, it's only available on the Pixel 9 Pro and the Pro XL, but it is absolutely improving the video quality, providing better skin tones, more sharpness, better colors. But having to send that video off to the cloud to process before coming back to the Photos app is a bit of a pain. Those clips I just took, which were like 30 seconds long, took a couple hours to actually process. Plus, you have to remember to turn it on before taking the video. There's no option to do the video boost after you've already recorded a clip. So I just don't see myself using it that much. So again, for photos, I give the win here to the Pixel 9, and for video, I think the S25 takes it. Now, no pun intended, but next let's zoom out a bit for the overall tech landscape and talk about the two ecosystems that these phones live in. And by that, I mean what other devices like earbuds, watches, and tablets do both Google and Samsung produce, and what are the benefits of pairing those devices up with one of these phones? Now, neither of these manufacturers offer quite the same restrictive walled garden as Apple, which means it's not so hard to mix and match these devices with either of these phones, but there are certainly a few things to note. On the Pixel side, Google offers the Pixel Buds Pro 2 as their premium flagship earbuds or the more budget-oriented A-series buds. Their latest watch is the Pixel Watch 3, which comes in one style but two sizes. And then they have the Pixel Tablet, which is an interesting but kind of expensive tablet for the specs. And in my opinion, it works better as a home hub display and with smart home controls and photos with occasional tablet use. And that's it. That's kind of all their products. While Samsung offers quite a bit more options for each category. Plus they offer a smart ring, their Galaxy Books laptops, and TVs as well. I've been testing the Pixel 9 Pro with the Pixel Watch 2 and the Pixel Buds Pro 2, while I've been using the S25 with the Watch 6 Classic and the Buds 3 Pro. However, I also own a couple Samsung tablets. Overall, the main advantages of being within the Samsung ecosystem is the seamless switching between their devices for their earbuds, which again can expand to your laptop or even your TV, plus Samsung Pass, which is a pretty great little password manager that makes it really easy to add new devices or to switch to new phones by helping you easily log into those apps. I've got a full review of the Buds 3 Pro that I'll link up here, but when they're paired with the S25, you get improved sound quality for both music playback and recording with the Buds microphones. The Pixel Buds also offer improved audio quality when paired to the Pixel phone, plus I prefer the Fitbit app for tracking workouts, which is exclusive to the Pixel watches or other dedicated Fitbit devices. Overall, if you're okay buying into a single company's ecosystem, Samsung has a stronger offering in terms of product selection, plus the more compelling argument in terms of the benefits, so that's another win for the S25. Alright, lastly, let's talk about software. While both phones are currently running the latest version of Android 15, they both have different skins that give you a little bit of a different look and feel. On the S25, you're getting Samsung's latest One UI 7, and over on the Pixel 9, you're getting, I don't know, the Pixel skin? I'm not sure it actually has an official name, but again, let me know in the comments if it does. There's almost too much to cover here, so I'll try to be concise and just cover the top things that I like about both phones' software. First, on the S25, one of One UI's biggest draws for me is that quick settings and notification shade. In this panel, Samsung gives you way more customizability and quick access to specific settings and media controls. Additionally, within the Settings app, you can search for the things you want with natural language, like, why is my screen turning off? Even for a more power user like me, this is actually very helpful when I'm trying to go quickly so I don't have to think about what certain settings are called. One UI 7 also introduced the Now bar, which is this dynamic pill-shaped element at the bottom of your lock screen. Depending on your activity you have running, it'll change to give you quick access to common functions like media controls, phone options while on a call, workout tracking, and so on. If you're someone who prefers using the 3 navigation buttons instead of gesture controls, then another nice feature of the S25 is the ability to swap the placement of the multitask and back buttons. For me, I use my phone in my right hand most of the time, and I like having that back button really close on that right hand side. This ability to switch the layout isn't an option over on the Pixel side of things, so I've been working on getting used to the gesture controls, but it's definitely just not the fastest way to navigate a phone. Switching to things I really like on the Pixel, the Now Playing feature that passively always tells you what music is on in your environment is super addictive. That tip of the tongue feeling of like, what's this song called again? It's completely erased when using the Pixel 9. There are a ton of call features like call screening, direct my calls, which shows you the numbers for the automated phone system before it even reads them. The Wait for Me, which will stay on hold for you so you can focus on other things, and a lot more. I will say that Samsung has caught up with a few of these features like call screening, but the experience is still much better on the Pixel. So if you're someone who uses your phone for, I don't know, phone calls, this is a big win. Additionally, there's a few camera app functions that are offered in the Pixel that have yet to be matched by Samsung. Mainly AI features like Best Take that allows you to take the best selection of faces and poses of different people in a group shot and combine them and merge them from different takes all into one photo. And the new Add Me feature that allows the photographer to get in on a group photo by merging 2 photos together after the fact. Some of these things work better than others, but the point remains that there's some Pixel magic sprinkled around in that camera app. There honestly used to be a lot more Pixel exclusive features, but they slowly rolled out a lot of them to other Android phones. And some of the other ones, Samsung has just started offering their own version of. So there's a lot more feature parity here than there once was. But another advantage with the Pixel is that you'll always be the first to get the latest Android updates as soon as they're launched. I've been a Samsung user for many years, and I can attest that the waiting for the updates is often the hardest part. Especially because Samsung rolls out updates very slowly, starting with their latest phones first. So if you're using a phone that isn't the latest gen, you can be waiting 6 months or more to get updates after they're already released on the Pixel phones. That said, Samsung has pledged 7 years of both OS and security updates for the S25 series of phones, which matches Google's pledge for the Pixel 9 series. So you will eventually get those updates, and you'll be getting them for a long time from now. There's one incredibly annoying issue that's almost a deal breaker for me, and that's the text scaling. Across the whole UI and in many different apps, text scales differently between these two phones. It makes the fonts often look just one size too small on the Pixel 9. It's the weirdest thing, but this was prevalent on the Pixel 7 and 8 as well. If you've never looked at these two side by side, you might never know, but it drives me crazy. And before you rush to the comments to tell me that this is a setting you can change, no, it's not. If you scale up the text on the Pixel 9 in the settings, it impacts some fonts, but not others. So now some things are too big, while others haven't changed at all. It's a really strange thing that I wish I could figure out because it feels simple, but here we are. Anyway, yeah, so software. This one's tough as there are obviously things I really like about One UI, but I think the fact that you're always getting the new updates as soon as they're available, plus a lot of those other Pixel exclusive features, make this one a win for the Pixel. All right, so that's it for this comparison. Out of the 9 categories, the S25 won 4, and the Pixel 9 also won 4. And they tied in the other one, so yeah, sorry about that. To decide which one of these is better for you, you'll have to apply your own weight to these categories and decide which are most important for you. Do you want the slightly smaller but better performing phone with the better display and the more diverse ecosystem? Or do you prefer to have the best camera battery life while always knowing you'll be the first to receive new Android updates? As I said in the intro, I've legitimately been putting off this video because I was really having a hard time wrapping my head around which one I preferred myself. But in the end, I'm probably gonna go with the S25 as my daily driver for now. I just really like the size and the weight of it. The display is beautiful and that adaptive color tone is really nice. And yeah, that text scaling thing is very real for me. But I hope this video was helpful for you, and if it was, I'd really appreciate it if you can hit that like button and consider subscribing for more videos like this. I've got a personal goal of trying to hit 10,000 subscribers, so I'd love to have you along for the ride. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.